Okay, back in 1975, SPI released Blue and Gray Four Civil War Battles, featuring Shiloh, Antietam, Cemetery Hill, and Chickamauga. And I immediately bought it. I always wanted a bunch of Civil War battles, and here was four battles in one package. The one lovely thing about it was that after reading one set of rules and a page or two of the exclusive rules, you could now play four Civil War battles. And I played these things to death back in the 70s. Now, another pleasant surprise we had was in the same year, Blue and Gray Quad 2 was released, giving us four more battles: Fredericksburg, Hooker and Lee, Chattanooga, and Battle of the Wilderness. And Fredericksburg and Hooker and Lee could be joined together to form one large Chancellorsville game. And from time to time in S&T magazine, they would release the odd battle using the same system. For example, Road to Richmond was a magazine game using the quad system. So again, you didn't have to read a whole bunch of new rules. Just read the exclusive rules and you had another game. Later on, they came up with the Road to Vicksburg, which covered the Battle of Champions Hill. So overall, the quad series was quite successful, and I liked them very much. After SPI went under, Decision Games did release other versions of the quad games because they had the rights to them. They were the same games using the same rules and exclusive rules, so you didn't have to learn them all over again. But I thought the maps were inferior. I didn't think the um, counters were as good. I thought they kind of fumbled the ball with the reprints. So when it was announced just last year that Decision Game is going to re-release the Blue and Gray quads, I didn't get too excited because I was afraid they'd fumble the ball again. And I waited until they, sort of established themselves and showed some screenshots and pictures of what the components would be like before purchasing. And I'm glad I did. So here we are in 2025, and they did release the Blue and Gray Deluxe Edition, and it's got all 8 Civil War battles in one box. And I'm very glad to say that they were true to the originals. The counters look just like the originals. The old NATO style and blue and gray colors. The maps are mounted and they look just exactly like the 1975 editions. So finally, Decision Games did something right, in my opinion, and this is one beautiful edition. Now, it is expensive. This is over $100, but keep in mind you do get 8 games in the one box, and they are all mounted. Now, for this video, I propose to just take a brief look at each title, show you the counters and the boards, because I think I'd like to do an individual video on each of the battles. But I'll make a few comments on each one in the box and give you an idea what they're like. I should point out that the box is physically quite heavy because all of the maps are mounted. And unfortunately, you won't be able to use trays for this one. With 8 games, you'd be hard pressed to get all the counters into a tray. I suppose you might be able to get them in one tray. I tried it, was not too successful. Found out the best way to sort the games was by game, Cemetery Hill, Hooker and Lee, and so on. Let's take a look at the first battle. Okay, I thought we'd just look at the battles in chronological order. As it turns out, with the 8 games, you have 5 battles that take place in the East and 3 in the Western Theater. And going chronologically, the first game or the earliest battle would be Shiloh, April 1862. Now, Shiloh, as we know, fought in heavily forested terrain, so you're not going to be able to use artillery as much as in some of the other quads. Beautifully mounted maps, and they are almost like, hard to say, almost like silken coating. They are very well done, and they are true to the originals. The booklet, deluxe edition, all of the games are in there. It is illustrated. All of the variants are in there. Um, it's just a well done package. Apparently, there is some minor errata on the counters, nothing to write home about. You've got union displays on quality cards, which can be used for all of the games. You've got a turn record track used for the Grand Chancellor's Ville option, and scenario setups for all of the games on nice quality stock. So, um, this is a very well done package indeed. So that's Shiloh. Um, Shiloh's an interesting battle, of course, because the Confederates have got to try to drive Grant into the Tennessee, and they have one day to do it. But that's Shiloh. Well done indeed. Okay, the second one in the series is Antietam. Chronologically, it takes place in September of 1862, and it was one of my favorite in the whole series. This is a nail biter of a game. McClellan's forces outnumbering Lee. It's not 2-1, about 3-2 maybe, and he's trying to push Lee into the Potomac. It's a nail biter of a game because the Union has the superior forces, but they're limited by the inevitable McClellan rule. But I never liked to think of it as a McClellan rule. It really was a rule that showed you the inability of attacking Civil War armies to coordinate all along the field. Antietam uh, was a very good game, very close, and one of my favorites in the series. Again, beautifully mounted maps, well done, with great respect to the look of the originals. Okay, the third battle, chronologically, also takes place in 62, the Battle of Fredericksburg, which is a straight, bloody frontal attack with the Union coming across the Potomac here, right into Lee's entrenchments, stretching from over here in the Rappahannock all the way down to Deep Run and Hamilton's Crossing. Usually frontal attack games are not that interesting, but this one was very good. Standard quad system with some long range artillery, locked zones of control. As we all know, the blue and gray quad system was derived from the old Napoleon at War system. This one was a lot of fun too. So even though it was a frontal attack, this was another well done game. Again, beautiful maps with paying respect to the originals. Okay, the fourth one was Hooker and Lee, taking place in the spring of 63. And I would say it was a weaker title in Volume 2. And I think it had to do with the level of the simulation for the order of battle. You've got a difficult time with Chancellorsville, and they did a pretty good job, but I don't think it's as strong as the others. This is because the Union units are more or less divisions, and the Confederates are demi brigades. And of course, it's the physical battle around Chancellorsville itself. It is not the campaign of Chancellorsville. So I guess we could orient it this way to get you understand a little bit better. There's the Rappahannock, there's Chancellorsville, and the Union come across here outflanking Lee. And so the fight is mainly around the Chancellorsville crossroads. Still a good game in its own right, but perhaps the weaker in the series. And they did give you an option where you could take the Hooker and Lee map and attach it to Fredericksburg. Let's just take a look at that. Okay, here's Hooker and Lee and Fredericksburg attached together to make one long campaign map. And this one was fun to play too, but I don't know, it just, I never liked it as much as the actual original Avalon Hill game, Chancellorsville. Still, this was a valiant effort to bring two games together. Sure was nice having a large map, and again, the quality was there. But again, with the Union, with their large divisions and the Confederates and their demi brigades, didn't quite work out the way one would expect. But I mean, a valiant effort, and it gave you kind of another game in the box, didn't it? Okay, we're still in 1863 now. It's November, and we're now in the Western Theater of War with the Battle of Chattanooga. Now, Chattanooga is another game I really liked. It was very good. You had your Battle of Lookout Mountain here. You've got Missionary Ridge, and Grant's forces here are besieged in Chattanooga. Now, if you've read about the real battle, I mean, we're still trying to figure out exactly what happened. The Union just attacked across this open field, and the whole Confederate army just went to pieces, retreating down through Rossville Gap. I like this one playing the Confederate because it was a challenge. It really was a very fine game. You had action down here at Lookout Mountain. You had action up here at the tunnel with Sherman, and action in the center. It was a tense game and a lot of fun. And I think this is the only game I've ever played on the Battle of Chattanooga. There's very few games out there on Chattanooga. Okay, now we return to the Eastern Theater of War, and it's 1864. This is the Battle of the Wilderness. Now, when I first played the Battle of the Wilderness, I was a bit concerned about certain Confederate units setting up in these clear areas in the middle, and there was almost no way they could get out except by combat. As it turns out, the game worked just fine. It really was a good simulation of the Battle of the Wilderness. I noticed I bespoke incorrectly there. I meant Union units. There are some Union units that set up here in these fields, and I was kind of concerned that they'd be cut off. But as the game progressed, it really didn't matter. Wilderness was a very good game. Again, I don't think I've played any other battle games on the Battle of the Wilderness. Played campaign games, but these quads really fill kind of a missing niche in the hobby. You've got 8 games in one box, plus those extra ones that appeared in the magazines. Now, there wouldn't be much point in me showing you all the counters for each of the individual games because generically they look rather alike. All of the Confederates are in the standard gray and the Union in the dark blue. They are double-sided, which is really nice, and they've got some information on the back too, which I'll show you. They have a letter code on the back, which you'll, when you're sorting, they're kind of self-sorted. Each letter code corresponds to a specific game in the series. They've also shown the back with the bracketed number to show you its reduced side and the fact that you can't attack if you're using the attacker effectiveness rule, which is a rule I do recommend. Now, I know I'd intended to go chronologically, but 2 battles here got out of sequence, and maybe that's a Freudian slip on my part. Maybe it's because keeping the best and the worst for last. Anyway, no question that the weak title in the series was Cemetery Hill. I think most people would agree on that. I didn't mind the map. It was a little okay. I mean, it was adequate. It was a quad. But what really hurt the simulation was the gigantic Union division units and the demi brigades for Confederate. The game just kind of didn't work, and it was the poorest in the series. Now, they later made some brigade-sized units for both sides, and that is included in this deluxe version. So if you thought the original Cemetery Hill was kind of weak, like I did, you could go to the brigade level game, and maybe that's enough to save it. I don't know. I haven't played it enough. If you want a simple game on Gettysburg, this was just as good as some of the other mainstream titles I've seen out there, but it is weak compared to the other quads. And now we'll look at what I think was the best of the battles in the series. Okay, and that game was good old Chickamauga. Chickamauga was a really intense battle and pretty evenly matched on both sides. It was through an accident that a hole appeared in the Union line and they were driven from the field. But it was very even. And I remember, I think back in 76, 77, I forget which year, I went to a tournament, probably Origins, I guess, and they were running a Chickamauga tournament, just Chickamauga, because it was so well balanced. And they had a whole mess of people there joining this tournament. At least that's what I remember. Getting old, so my memory just isn't what it used to be. But Chickamauga is a very fine title, and a lot of people that bought some of the quads as standalone ended up with Chickamauga and not with some of the others. So that's my brief overview of the blue and gray quads. So in closing, this finally is a very worthwhile package in my opinion, one of the best reprints the Decision Games has ever done. My only nitpick is I wish they hadn't have chosen this kind of artwork for the cover. We know these old prints. They're not historically accurate. I would have liked some new dynamic artwork for it or just a better painting. But that's a nitpick. That does not detract from this package, which is a wonderful package. Like I said, expensive, but you're getting 8, 9 if you count Hooker and Lee and Fredericksburg put together. A very worthwhile package. So that's it for the blue and gray quads, and thank you for watching.